Alright, so Yae Miko is coming, and the question on my mind is whether or not I'll drop Lisa for Yae Miko in the Triple Electro Death Squad. So I want to make this comparison and see whether or not I will actually do that. Obviously, the metagamers will be screaming, how can you compare a 5-star to one of the quote-unquote worst characters in the meta? And obviously, of course, I don't care about that. Lisa is a character that I have loved pretty much since the start of Genshin, and I've continued to play Lisa for a long time, so that's literally irrelevant to me. So outside of her ascension and her leveling up of her talents, if I were to do a full swap of Lisa to Yae Miko, it should be really smooth. I suspect that Yae Miko would run Thunder Soother really well, in much the same way that Lisa can run Thunder Soother pretty well. Or alternatively, I could run 2-piece Thundery Fury, 2-piece Glad, or hell even just run some Shimenawa pieces as well. We'll just have to see. So without getting too into the weeds, because Yae Miko actually did get a couple of buffs since last week when I recorded this again, we're just going to split this up into some normal attacks, special, ultimate, team utility, rotation, as well as some additional shenanigans, just to see where they both shape up against each other. So let's just get into her normal attacks. Basically, with the Triple Electro Death Squad, Lisa is the character that I use for normal attacks, outside of Raiden Shogun, but at that point you're using Raiden Shogun's ultimate. So the big difference between Lisa and Yae is that Yae Miko's normal attacks are just a 3-hit combo, whereas Lisa's normal attacks are in fact a 4-hit combo, which could be really strong. Now, I haven't checked Honey Hunter's numbers lately because they have been changing all the time, but I suspect that Yae's 3-hit combo is probably still going to do less total damage than Lisa's 4-hit combo, but it will still do more damage per hit on average, because that's what it was before. So if we were to take that into account, surely Yae Miko would be a better auto attacker, normal attacker than Lisa, no? Well, let's also take into account the fact that Lisa's normal attacks also include the potential for the 5-hit combo, which is to include the tap special. So the idea is after the 4th attack for Lisa, you can also tap your special as long as it's not on cooldown to throw out the homing ball that also does a lot of damage. So if we put it into the calculation, I suspect that no matter what, Yae Miko's 3-hit combo cannot outpace the 5-hit combo that Lisa can put out. So in situations where I need auto attacks, I feel like Lisa would surpass Yae in that regard. There is also the question of attack speed, which may of course become a factor. I will need to test it out, but I suspect that Lisa's attacks are still faster than Yae Miko's either way. Alright, let's have a look at charge attacks. Now, at the present moment, Lisa's charge attacks are still the highest scaling charge attacks in the game. So I don't think Yae Miko's is going to be able to surpass those, but we'll just have to see if she ends up getting buffed in that regard. That being said though, there is apparently a possibility that big bosses like the Primo G of Vishap can be hit multiple times by Yae's charge attack. That really just depends on what Yae's charge attack actually ends up being, so we'll just have to see on that regard. Now let's have a look at their special abilities. So in both this comparison and the ultimate comparison, the reality is that of course I will have Lisa at an advantage at C5 Lisa as opposed to just going for C0 Yae Miko. I'm not going to be wailing for C5 Yae Miko anytime soon. So we're going to have to basically take that into account. That being said though, Yae Miko's special is the summoning of 3 turrets, which could be very useful in a set and forget kind of method, whilst Lisa's special is either tapping like I mentioned earlier, or potentially doing the heavy hitting hold special, which is of course the nuke ability that I have done in the past in order to do 100,000 damage with Lisa. So if you were to compare level 10 Yae's special versus level 13 Lisa special through C5, what appears to be the case is that Yae's turrets, having received buffs during the beta, they're going to be able to do quite a lot of damage, to the point where they only need to hit enemies a handful of times in order to reach the same amount of damage that a fully stacked Lisa hold special nuke would actually provide. But here's the thing. There is no limit to how many enemies can be hit by a single Lisa nuke provided they're all in a zone. And there are of course a variety of mechanics that aren't even C6 that can quickly rack up the stacks for that quote-unquote super nuke. So in theory you could hit 5 little wolves that are fully stacked, and there's no way in hell that Yae's turrets will be able to keep up with that level of damage. But that being said, Yae's turrets are much more of a set and forget measure, kind of like Lisa's lantern, so no matter what they are definitely going to be easy to use. And they'll definitely churn through enemies who stay within the range, which should be easy if you actually stay near those turrets as well, especially if they're melee enemies. So if the turrets stick around for quite a significant amount of time, from memory it's around about the 14-second mark, but I could be wrong, that is of course going to be a really long time. Also, one of Yae's talents allows any EM roll from, let's say, I don't know, my R4 Witsith, which gives 420% EM, to increase her turret damage by an additional 63% question mark. That is a lot of extra damage that's just coming straight from the Witsith, so that could be really useful as well. Perhaps Yae Miko will perform better in the long run. I don't know, it's kinda hard to say. The main thing is that Lisa's special at C1 also provides her with more energy for her ultimate. It's currently sitting at 2 energy per hit, capped at 10. Meanwhile, Yae's cooldown is actually ridiculously low, plus it can also be reset by her ultimate if memory serves, so nowadays her cooldown is just out of this world. Right now, I think it's a 4-second cooldown per turret, which is just insanity to me, especially since these things last for quite a lot of time, from memory about 14 seconds, which is just insane. And then this is before we get into Thundery Fury beams, although I get the feeling that with Yae Miko you probably don't need to do Thundery Fury. But as Yae's special are turrets, there's also a good to fair chance that like Goba, they can also provide her with constant energy. This was the case with Lisa's tap special, but then that got nerfed. Quote unquote fixed, but it's a nerf. And it's a completely unrelated nerf. I'm getting out of topic. Let's now move on to their ultimates. So, as far as I can tell, Yae's ultimate is a really straightforward nuke. It's just going to do a lot of damage, and if you happen to have nearby turrets, they're going to do even more damage. In fact, you basically get to do even more instances of damage through your ultimate. So you should be able to do quite a significant amount of damage through that ultimate. But the math behind Lisa's ultimate is pretty wild, and I am going to do a full Lisa guide as soon as I get C6. Just to celebrate the fact that I get C6, but basically what the dealio is with Lisa's Lantern is that the Lantern hits around about 29 times in its duration. But at C4, it can hit between 1 and 3 enemies. There is a page in the Kating Main's Lisa guide that is known as the Evidence Vault, and inside the Evidence Vault, the observation that has been observed is that against 3 enemies, there's a 30% chance it'll chuck out only 1 bolt against enemies. There's a 50% chance it'll chuck out 2 bolts to hit 2 enemies, and there's a 20% chance that it'll hit 3 enemies with 3 bolts. Obviously, that's not 100% guaranteed math, but that's basically the observation that has been made. So, assuming that a C4 Lightning Rose has shot out, using that math, 55 bolts against 3 enemies, that is a lot of damage. I've done the calculation, and at level 13, it's pretty high. 4,281% for anyone who's curious. So, does that mean that Lisa's Lantern could potentially do somewhere around the 2 times as much damage as Yae's ultimate? Only against 3 enemies. So, I think in the long run, Yae's ultimate is going to be a higher damage per second. So it's kind of a reverse special comparison in the sense that there doesn't appear to also be a limit on how many enemies can be hit by Yae Miko's ultimate so long as they're in the zone. So in theory you could hit 5 little wolves. That being said though, Lisa does have a talent that gives her Lantern some good old-fashioned armor stripping, so that is actually really useful in terms of supporting the team. Of course the thing that Yae Miko has to that is C6, but I'm not going to be wailing for that. And that of course is just armor ignoration for her own turrets, it doesn't actually help her team. Also, there's a good to fair chance that Lisa's Lantern is going to do more single target damage anyway than Yae Miko, because her Lantern does do quite a lot of damage. Also the Lantern snapshots, I'm not sure if Yae Miko's ultimate is going to have any snapshot capabilities, but then again it's not a particularly long duration ultimate, so we'll just have to see. And then of course there's the Rider Shogun coefficient, because A is able to increase ultimate damage based on the cost of the ultimate itself. And right now, A will be able to increase Lisa's ultimate by 24% because Lisa's ultimate is an 80 cost ultimate, but because Yae's ultimate is apparently going to be the second of the 90 cost ultimates, A will be able to increase that damage by 27%. Now let's have a look at their team utility. The reason why the Triple Electro Death Squad works so well is because everyone has a role to play. Lisa provides normal attack damage whenever possible, is able to provide a bit of a nuke, and also shreds armor with her Lantern. Jean heals and is able to provide Viridescent Shred, which is of course really useful. Sarah buffs like crazy, and A is just A. You know, she provides energy, she does a lot of off-field damage, and then also just occasionally just straight up kills everything. So that's of course going to be really useful. So if Yae Miko were to join a team, what can she provide? Can she provide normal attack damage? I'm not 100% sure about that. Can she provide a nuke? Yes, she can. And can she also shred armor with her Lantern, or shred armor with an ability? Not quite. She can definitely ignore armor with her turrets at C6, but I'm not going to be getting C6, so that's going to be a no. So does that mean that she will clash with A? This says that both characters are able to provide off-field damage. They're also potentially able to provide energy, at least hopefully Yae Miko's turrets provide a regular energy supply. And they are also able to drop nukes through Musa no Hitokachi, Yae's ultimate, and then also some additional damage on top of that. But maybe instead of clashing with each other, they could end up bouncing off each other. Right now, the rotation for the Triple Electro Death Squad is basically waiting for everyone to get their ultimates ready whilst Raiden Special is active. Then we go for the Sarah ult buff through 4-piece Noblesse. Then we go for the Lisa Lantern, that of course snapshots, and as well as a Hell Special nuke, because why not? We go for the G Special to ultimate for both healing and VV Shred. We go for Spara's special buff in order to then buff A, who then goes ham, and then when A goes ham, she also restores a lot of energy for everyone, so then we get to rinse and repeat. Whereas with Yae Miko, I guess the rotation I would use is once everyone gets their ultimates ready, with the possible exception of Yae Miko, we go for a Sarah ultimate buff, 4-piece Noblesse. We drop 3 of Yae's turrets, hopefully they snapshot. We go for a Jean special into ultimate, VV shredded heal. Sarah then drops her special buff, A goes ham, and then when A's done going ham, Sarah should probably drop her ultimate buff again. Yae Miko drops a nuke, which of course takes in her turrets. Now when she drops a nuke, her turrets will also reset, so that way she could just drop her turrets again, and then we rinse and repeat from there. I don't know, we'll just have to see. Hopefully this is actually a really powerful rotation, but it kind of seems a little bit wishy-washy if you ask me, so I'm not entirely sure how smooth this particular rotation is. With the Lisa rotation right now, I feel like it is really smooth, but then again I have been practicing it for a very long time. There is also one other thing that Yae Miko has over Lisa that there is no way for Lisa to recover from, and that is simply that Yae Miko ascends with crit rate. Apparently she's going to end up with some additional 20% crit rate thereabouts when she is done ascending to level 90. Also her basic attack is slightly higher. So if I were to stick the current Thunder Soother Lisa build and Witsit on her right now, I will have above 80% crit rate and 200% crit damage. I mean, I don't know about you, but that seems pretty good to me. Yeah, really excited for that kind of stuff to happen. So, in conclusion, I feel like there's enough reason for me to keep Lisa on the team. Yet there's also enough reason for me to swap her out entirely for Yae Miko. Lisa of course got the 5-hit combo, the Lantern utility, potentially smoother rotations on her side. But Yae Miko's got turrets and an ultimate nuke on her side. So, I don't know, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. What do you reckon? Maybe I'll just turn the team into a Mono Electro Death Squad with 100% less healing but potentially 100% more fun. I was really hoping that Yae Miko would be like a healer of some sort. Of course you could turn her into a pseudo healer with something like Prototype Amber, but I feel like we'll be burning quite a lot of potential just by doing that, but we'll just have to see. It's either going to be her or Lisa who might end up being the healer with Prototype Amber, so we'll really just have to see. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked this video, hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Ha?